Better. Hey, that was faster than I thought. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the Banff Podcast. I am your host, Mike Lafferty, and this is Writers Wednesday. And here, right over here to my side, is official science fiction writer, JR Hanley. How you doing, JR?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I am excellent. Thanks for coming on. And below me is Ryan Danks, also a writer. Best known work is Jade Punk. How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
All right. How is life in Vegas today?
Cold.
Really?
Super cold. We had snow yesterday. Covered the whole valley.
Oh, yeah, we got snow here too, but I'm in Denver, so it's expected. So,
yeah, our
hey.
blizzard was like 0 inches, but it was still a blizzard.
Yeah,
for us.
And I'm guessing the roads are all jammed up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody can drive out here for anything.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah. And walking in a few minutes late is our friend Walt Rebelliard. How you doing, Walt?
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Pues necesito una vacación porque no dormir.
See.
How many languages do you know, Walt?
English, Italian, Spanish, Japanese, Tagalog, and Arabic.
Damn.
I speak the international language of love.
Yes, which means
I speak M16 fluently.
Which means you're old because that thing's a musket. Are you wearing an Arnista Mono or Eskrima hat?
In the Santo Academy.
Yes, there we go.
Because I gotta cover that hair. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
That guy's still out.
I should be wearing a hat right now myself.
What is the Asanto Academy?
Inasanto is Bruce Lee's only certified instructor, and he taught my instructor in Jeet Kune Do, who certified me. So I went to see him in Santa Monica and got the hat.
Cool.
Because gotta rep it, I guess.
JR, have you seen The Mandalorian yet?
I've seen season 1. I haven't gotten to season 2 yet.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, because his daughter is in there.
Yeah, his daughter's cool as shit.
Yeah,
cool.
She's awesome.
So, hey, I thought today we would talk about how to beat writer's block, because I know I've been fighting it for like the last couple of years. It seems like I can write anything that's RPG related, albeit slowly, but fiction just kind of kills me. So lately, my new thing is I do a minute of RPG writing or 5 minutes of RPG writing, then I go over to write fiction. And Walt told me this, he was writing 2 books at once, going back and forth was helping him. So I've been doing it for a day or two, and it's working okay so far. I'm making progress. I think it's just a way to get around my anxiety. But
one character doesn't end up teleporting to the other story by accident?
It helps that one's RPG, so it's more like technical writing. It's not fiction, or not, at least not point of view fiction. And the other one is, well, fiction. So it's 2 different kinds of writing. So that's now, JR, we haven't seen you in a while, and as I said, you are an official writer guy with a very fiery avatar. Do you have any tricks or techniques for getting around writer's block, or is this just never an obstacle that comes your way?
I just weaponize my stubbornness, and I sit and I type away until it comes to me. But what I've taken to doing lately is when I finish for the night, I will like write some bullet points of what I want, like where I want it to go, keep going. So I leave myself a starting point where I can pick up from, and that sort of helps it flow. Yeah, so that's how I do it.
You know, that's actually a tip I heard from a Harlan Ellison interview years and years ago. It was like, this is the only piece of writer's advice I have that's worth a damn is always stop at a cliffhanger, so you got a good place to start the next morning.
Yeah.
So Walt, I would ask you about writer's block, but given just how prolific you are, I'm guessing this is like not a problem for you.
I don't have writer's block. I have sleep block. So I don't sleep because the ideas just don't stop. But those times that I did have writer's block were usually stress, anxiety, or life related. There was just so much going on that I wouldn't focus. And that's really a lot of times what ends up pushing your writer's block from an obstacle to a straight out wall. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't use that segue for Writer's Block Coffee by Keystroke Medium.
I know. We do have some awesome coffee over at Keystroke Medium.
Do you have a storefront page? Well, we talk about this often enough. Hey, Jim Seals is here. How you doing, Jim?
So Keystroke Medium, for those who aren't aware, a group of writers who got together and kind of like wanted to help people who were doing indie publishing. So the idea was, we put our collective heads together, and that way we're not knocking our heads by ourselves. So so I just put the site in the there we go. Right. So if you look, you got this giant red coffee button right at the top. You click that, and why didn't it change? That's weird. That's really weird. Oh, there it goes. Damn, that was strange. There we go. All right, so we have our own line of coffee. My coffee is called Light on Story. It's a light roast, which I normally don't drink unless I'm really jonesing for caffeine, because what most people don't realize is that everybody's like, oh, espresso, it's gonna pump me up and blah blah blah. Espresso has less caffeine in it than so yeah. So the lighter the roast, the more the caffeine. But that being said, yeah. So writer's block is one of the different blends that we have. There it is, right there at the corner. So yeah, it's a dark roast, fun, blah blah blah. But the idea is, when you have writer's block, it's usually something stress related that's getting you off your game, be it anxiety, be it something in life, tuition's due for the kids, or whatever it is. So if you're viewing your writing as something that you have to do versus a refuge where you go, then the writer's block is going to be that wall. If you start viewing your writing as a place that you go to either escape or build something of quality to you and hopefully to your audience, you're going to be less inclined to run into a wall and more use it as just, this is the separation of one room of my life to another. So, for example, when I wrote Hunter's Moon, which is the trilogy of books, which we just got the audio covers back, and we'll look at so when I was writing Hunter's Moon, during the initial writing of the trilogy, and then the subsequent reconstruction of them, and then edits, it took between everything anywhere from 6 months to a year to get it all done because of various things going on. I couldn't stop those ideas from coming, and it acted as a refuge and kind of like a sanity palace for myself, because at the time my mom was dying of cancer. At one point my face stopped working because of a rare genetic condition that just, hey, you're 40 something years old. Guess what? Here we go. Here's something fun. Then my wife got cancer. My leg fell off. It was like one thing after another. And the Hunter's Moon universe was just that place that was filled with amazing and interesting characters, really fun stories. I felt like because the Star Wars movies that had just come out, I didn't enjoy them personally. I thought they were terrible Star Wars films. Yeah, I enjoyed them as science fiction movies, but they felt more like fan fiction than a Star Wars movie to me. So I didn't enjoy them. So the Hunter's Moon universe was also filling in that role as well. And it was like, I can tell these stories much better, much cleaner, with a lot less ham-fisted politics being shooed in. And I don't mind politics in my fiction. I actually enjoy it, and I think Star Wars properties like Star Wars benefit from politics. What I don't like is the politics where the politics are there and the story is added in, versus the story is there and the politics are added in. So the overall property that I was producing was that place that I could go and enjoy myself. And if you're writing that, you're going to have a hard time finding a wall, an obstacle, because you're going to be much more inclined to what do you call it? You're going to be much more inclined to find those stories within yourself. Now, the thing is, if you look at day-to-day life, right, you look at what you think of when you go to your weekend or your time off. Like, hey, what are you going to do this weekend? I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But if you ask somebody what you have to, if somebody asks you, hey, what are you going to do tomorrow at work? Oh, I got to get there. I got to do this. I got to do this. Hopefully I'll find some time for coffee. And then I got to talk to this guy. I got a meeting at 3, and you have that shit on speed dial, right? So what you need to do is you need to hybridize basically your time and then apply it to your fiction. So get that free time element where you're going to have fun if you get the time off, because it's time off. Why wouldn't you? But put elements that bother you enough to like program your schedule in your head in there so that you have to tackle it. Like at one point in one of the stories that I wrote, they have to figure out how to break into a starship, and you can't just, we're going to sneak in through the air vent. It doesn't work like that when it's in space. Catastrophic losses of pressure, vacuum detection, immediate, decompression measures that would have been enacted on the starship. All of these things have to be overcome. And what you do is you put that obstacle in front of the character to piss off the character, because if things are going right for your character, the story's boring. Just stop. If it's a Hallmark story where nothing goes wrong, nobody watches that crap, right? It's the same thing. It's the same.
The whole channel, Walt.
Yeah, and nobody watches it. The best stories are when you see a character at their best, and all of a sudden their legs get kicked out from under them. And how do they react?
I got a thing upstairs. I'll be right back.
Gotcha. So having that kind of vibe kind of propel you into new ideas can really help your story, so that you're not just, well, what am I going to write today? It's start with a character, the character you want to hang out with. Like, who's your buddy? Who's your buddy? My buddy Brian. Talk to him a couple days a week, blah, blah, blah. We hang out. We fight together. We train together, go to the range. My dog will knock him down when he comes in the yard and be like, ah, and it's one of those things where, if I need a character immediately, I could always go to him, and be like, oh, what would I do if Ryan was here? And, establish that character. And then, and one of my favorite conversations to have during the week is calling Brian up and be like, hey, I was stuck on a guy, so I based him after you, and this is how I tortured him, and see,
this is how I hate you.
Yeah, this is how I hit you. And right there, right? So like, Ryan, you just laughed at that, right? If it's comical, it's definitely comical to me. It was comical to you. It's probably going to be something interesting to somebody else. And that's where you start. Find something familiar in your life, right? Get to a point where as you're writing it, you're like, oh, I could so hang out with this dude. This is my guy. Where's my hammer? And start looking for things to, start looking for things to hit him with, and think, how would they do it? How would they get out of it? Blah, blah, blah. And that kind of mental exercise, brings you to a point where after a while you stop using the stand-in, you start going to that other place. And like I said, I haven't had writer's block 4, 5, 6 years now. I can't stop the ideas because little exercises like that kind of program you to just launch ideas as necessary, and you just go with it.
So one thing you can do is give yourself incremental goals. So like I'll set like whatever my starting word count is, and I just do my goals at 250 words. So when you're not feeling it, you're like, well, let me just get the 250. And inevitably when you get there, like, okay, let me see if I can just get just 250 more. And before you know it, you've hit higher word goals than you thought you could. And that gives you the ability to get the story moving. And then when in doubt, I heard this on Terry Mixon's Listeners of Dead Robot Society podcast, and I don't know where he stole it from, but it's like whenever you get stuck, just have guys with guns come into the room. I think that came from Brandon Sanderson's podcast, but
wasn't that Raymond Chandler?
Maybe. Okay. It's not bad advice when you write military sci-fi.
Might not work for the Hallmark Channel, or maybe it would. I don't know.
Maybe Walt would finally watch the Hallmark Channel.
Hell no.
Well, basically, I almost said the Walmart Channel. The Hallmark Channel is, if you watch one movie, you've seen
them all.
You've seen all their actors. You've seen most of the plots, and even the backgrounds and the. It's kind of like Netflix's Marvel series for a while. If you saw one, you're like, oh, okay, they're going to set the shot this way. There's going to be a hallway fight at some point. It's got this kind of dialogue. The last 3 episodes, you're going to be like, when the fuck is this thing over? So there's a lot of parallels between them, is all I'm saying.
And that's the thing about JR's Formula, right? Even if you write a total of 500 words a day, right? Which isn't a lot. I mean, most people post more words in a day on social media complaining about politics, the girl that just left them, or that bitch had the same sweater that I did, right? So if you write 500 words a day, in 3 months, you have a 90,000 word novel, right? So even if it's 100 words a day, that's in 6 months, you'll have like a 60,000 word novel, right? And it's like, or 80,000, 90,000 word novel, right? So, I mean, the idea is get something on the page. It doesn't have to be good. It could be something later where you look at it and you're just like, oh, that was a sucky idea, but something, what I can do with that is I can polish this turd and we can go from awful to fantastic pretty quick.
Yeah. Once you have the words down, there's possibilities. Hey, I got this little article on how to beat writer's block. I thought we would just share the first 3 or 4.
Hit it.
So, and there we go. That's the right tab. And this is from author news at penguinrandomhouse.com because they're not paying me. So why are we here? I'm not sure. So number 1, take a hike, which is the basic advice. Distract yourself, do something else, then come back to it. Stop thinking about it for a bit. Number 2 is the JR solution, which is just sit down and write on. Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm doing. Do an unrelated project and then come back to it. 3 is kind of free writing. And 4 is the one I like the best. This is where you think of an imaginary audience of just one person, somebody and just tailor what you're writing to them specifically. So you don't have the, I'm not thinking about writing for tens of thousands of people out on the internet. Just think about this one dude and what he likes and try to, write for that. So. And number 6 is where you decide you don't believe in writer's block and you just fucking do it. So
there was someone who said, and I can't remember what one of the bigger authors, who was like, there's no such thing as plumber's block. So why is there writer's block? You just do it.
Yep.
Well, previous times as a journalist, I used to read a book about feature writing because I did a lot of that. And the feature is, it's not the story about the water board or about, an construction project. It's about interviewing a local musician or artist or something like that. And the New York Times, a pretty good guide to feature writing, and they had a whole section on procrastination, which is basically another name for writer's block. And it's like, especially at the New York Times, the writer comes in and he has all these ghosts of all the other New York Times writers just sitting around him. Their hands on his shoulders, their hands on his hands. He can't write because he's thinking about everyone's going to disappoint if he doesn't do it right. And all that shit will stop him from writing. You got to forget about that and just think about one person in your audience. And that was the advice they gave for that too. So, but yeah, you make a good point, JR. It's, there's ways around it. And if I don't have my plumber over and say, I just can't work on your water today because I'm just doing it. The muse isn't moving. So, Walt, you had this joint writing exercise we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. So do we want to take the plunge and do that? And if so, how do we do that on the air?
On the air?
Are we doing it off the air?
We can totally do it on the air. So the idea was all of us sitting here get together and fabricate, a page. So what we do is somebody starts the page, writes a page and a half because the idea is something fun for the website and something fun for the audience, while at the same time not impacting writing time, because I know my writing time is at a premium right now. I'm working on 2 books, and they're not in the same series, so it's like it's very, I need to get those words in every day. So in addition, I'm also all over the place. So but the idea was have something fun that also gets the creative juices flowing. So what we do is 1 week I'll do the page, you guys come in, check it out. We can put it through like a minor edit, and then the next week, like Ryan does the next page and builds off what was laid down, and then so forth and so on, and then we go from there. So that way we're getting some fun out of it, but at the same time, it's also sparking the creative juices. And I think your Wizards and Wise Guys setting would be perfect for that.
Okay.
When I first started writing, I participated in NaNoWriMo, and there's some local communities to you. And if you're just starting out, that's not a bad way to go, is to find local community. You will find that if you decide you want to actually profit from your writing, that you have to become more choosy, because some people are perfectly content to write fan fiction, which you can't actually sell unless you file off the serial numbers. So you kind of have to have the same goals, but there is something to be said for community as well. But one of the things they did for the kickoff party is they gave you a comic strip, and then they took out all of the dialogue, and you had to look at the picture and tell a story through the dialogue. So, and then they've got books full of story prompts, and all of those help get your creativity, which is what Walt's talking about. Once you train your brain to think that way, it's like, no, the issue isn't writer's block. It's turning it all off so I can focus on the one thing.
And I had to stop leaving. I have a moleskin notebook I carry with me everywhere, and I had to stop leaving that by the bed. My phone now, when I go to sleep, because I sleep during the day because I work at night. So my phone, I actually plug in all the way across the room on the other side. So I have to get up, walk around the bed, dodge the dog, not step on the cat, and then get the phone if I want to put something in it. Because what was happening was I was sitting down, I was looking at the ceiling, and I'm like, that's a cool alien race I could put in there. I just have to write it down, and I would reach over, and then I wouldn't sleep. I'd lose like an hour or 2 hours of sleep, because all of a sudden, because you're training your brain that way, it's like scribble, okay, yeah, blah, 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 and you go through, and now suddenly, it's not going to stop. So, you take all that stuff away so I can sleep now, because otherwise I'd sleep for an hour or 2 hours a day, and I can't do that anymore. I'm not 20. So, yeah.
I keep a handheld recording device near my bed that I can just pop on and mumble into. Sometimes I listen to it in the morning. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Like,
was I drunk? Was I drinking?
I don't think I day drunk yesterday, but geez, this is insane.
I like James Patterson's method on that. If I had an idea at night and I don't remember it in the morning, it wasn't that fucking good.
Yes. That's why I stopped doing it, because like I said, I was spending an hour and a half, like an idea would pop in my head, and I'm like, oh, I got to get this down. And it's
then in the morning you're like, wow, that sucked.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. So as far as the page goes, right, what we could do is page and a half, right, and then just have everybody build on it. So I'm thinking we start with Mike's Wizards and Wise Guys, so 1920s era, post-world. Go ahead, please.
Prohibition era, except sorcery is outlawed as well as liquor. And
there will be no drunk wizards on our watch.
Yes, there will. That's how you get the story.
Drunk wizards are the worst. And there's a lot of background I could spew at you, but that's kind of boring. And did you want to just take a page and a half, or I could send the first page and a half from that story I sent you guys a week or two ago? How you want to do it, Walt?
Let's actually build this as we go.
Okay, cool.
So I already have an awesome idea of where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I'm thinking, because JR just said it, and it's perfect. A drunk wizard, and that's really how you start this process. It's a drunk wizard. Right? Why is he drunk? Why is he drunk during the day? Is he drunk at night? Is he depressed? Is that why he's drinking? Because I mean, day drinking and wizardry sound like they wouldn't mix, but maybe it does. And now, like right now, everything's firing. I can see this guy in my head. He's got the zoot suit pants on with the wingtips, but he's got his sleeves rolled up and the white shirt, and he's got the suspenders on, but one suspender is off, and he's just holding his head like, why did I do this to myself again? So why is he punishing himself? Why is he drinking during the day? And he knows if he gets caught on either magic or whatever, and is drunk spell casting a thing? Is he a hobo?
But he's totally casting a spell, not knowing it. It's just the magic's around him, and the wrong guy's about to see it.
The Lusitania sank yesterday, but in my defense, I did have too much to drink.
See, and that's really, I mean, it's something like that'll break through your writer's block. And like I said, I'll do the first page and do a little bit of setup, and then who wants to take it after me for next week?
I'll do it.
All right, that works.
That was a riff on the Dresden Files. The Walmart was on fire, but in my defense, it wasn't me this time.
Those kind of Dresden Files meets Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly the vibe I was going for.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was an RPG project back in the day. I did. Oh God, when I was 35, I had this midlife crisis. I was like, "What have I done with my life? I'm just an office drone doing bullshit for stupid corporations." So I wanted to be a writer, and I couldn't sell any short stories. So I sold one, and it was actually in this world. So I started doing RPGs. So my first project was Soldiers and Spellfighters, and Wizards and Wise Guys for RPG objects, which was this kind of world. And Soldiers and Spellfighters was ridiculously more successful because people like that military stuff. So it's now a book called Kaiser's Gate, which is about World War I in a world where there's magic. And then Wizards and Wise Guys was, well, all those guys come home, into the 20s, beginning of the 30s, and shit happens. So
that's awesome. That's I love Peaky Blinders, and that feels very close.
Peaky Blinders is great. I really like that show. There's a funny quote from Bill Burr about that. He was like, I was watching that, and my wife was like, you're already too white. I just can't have you watching this show. It's makes it that much harder to relate to.
Oh God.
So anyway, this was I'm sharing it. It's completely irrelevant and tangential, but this was the cover that John Gibbons did for us for Kaiser's Gate, which was a bunch of soldiers. And
such good stuff.
Yeah, the dragon there fighting the triplanes underneath the Luger. I always love that image. So, okay, so we are a little bit over time, but Walt will write a page and a half. We will have it in our newsletter, which we do have, and I'll get you that link here in the show notes whenever I remember where that was. And
just in case, there's this right here.
What's
if
that?
You look at the share
down
below. Oh snap!
Oh yeah, there's that. That's an adventure we wrote. It's we converted it to Savage Worlds, and I believe Walt, was that you did the cover?
I did the cover. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We are getting it updated to Savage World Adventure Edition, but that's taking some time. So, but yeah, that's a cool looking thing.
Hell yeah!
Still one of my favorite adventures. Yeah, back in the day. All right, sounds good. And appreciate everyone checking us out. Jim, thanks for joining us in the comment section, and we will catch you all next time on the BAMF podcast. Writers Wednesday.